potential dangers. But we don't want to let fear, control our lives or prevent us from pursuing our dreams.
Exactly. He gives this example of a woman who was invited on a trip around the world, but she became so consumed by fear of flying that she started collecting newspaper clippings about airplane crashes.
Wow, so she was like feeding her fear instead of facing it.
Right, and that brings up another important point, which is that, fear can manifest in more subtle ways, like fear of failure, fear of rejection, or even fear of success.
Hmm. It's amazing how many different forms fear can take.
Oh,
So how do we address these more, subtle fears?
well, Murphy encourages us to, identify those fears, to bring them out into the light of awareness and to challenge their validity.
So instead of trying to suppress them
Yeah,
or pretend they don't exist, we
exactly.
need to acknowledge them
Uh-huh.
and question whether they're based in reality or just, our own limiting beliefs.
Precisely. And once we've identified those fears, we can start to replace them with more empowering thoughts.
Okay, so instead of thinking I'm going to fail,
Yeah.
we could say I'm capable and resourceful
Yes.
and, I'm willing to learn from my mistakes.
That's a great example. It's about shifting our focus from fear to faith,
Yeah.
from doubt to confidence.
Now I'm curious about this idea of the ageless mind that Murphy talks about.
Yes. He's a big believer in that.
Yeah, because it seems like he's challenging the belief that, our mental capacities inevitably decline as we age.
He is, and he provides some really inspiring examples to support his argument, like Cato, who learned Greek at the age of 80,
Wow.
or Ernestine Schumann Heink, who achieved the peak of her musical career as a grandmother.
That's pretty amazing. So it's never too late to learn to grow
No,
and to achieve something new,
never too late.
no matter our age.
He reminds us that our potential for learning and growth doesn't expire.
I love that it's like saying to our listeners, don't let age define you or limit your possibilities.
Exactly. And it ties in beautifully with his emphasis on understanding the mechanics of the subconscious mind. It's not just about positive thinking, it's about understanding how our thoughts, beliefs, and expectations directly interact with this incredible power that we have within us.
Right. And he even delves into the anatomical and physiological aspects of how the conscious and subconscious minds work together.
He talks about the cerebrospinal nervous system, which is associated with, conscious perception and voluntary actions,
Right.
being the channel through which our conscious mind communicates with the subconscious mind.
It's like the conscious mind sends a telegram through the cerebrospinal system,
Yeah.
and the subconscious mind operating through the sympathetic nervous system receives that message and starts working on fulfilling the request.
Exactly. It's this fascinating interplay between our physical and mental processes.
Yeah.
And it highlights the fact that our thoughts are not just these abstract entities, they have very real and tangible impact on our bodies.
And this kind of leads into a question that Murphy explores, which is what happens to the subconscious mind when we sleep?
This is where it gets really fascinating because Murphy argues that, sleep isn't just about physical rest. It's also a time when our subconscious mind is most active and receptive to suggestions. He even compares prayer to a form of sleep, a state where we withdraw from the external world and commune with the inner wisdom of our subconscious.
He describes it as becoming asleep to the world of the senses and alive to the wisdom and power of your subconscious mind. It's like hitting the reset button on our conscious mind and allowing the subconscious to take center stage.
And he actually cautions against the dangers of sleep deprivation, pointing out that it can lead to, irritability, mood swings, depression, and even in some cases more serious mental health issues.
So it's not just about feeling groggy the next day.
No.
It's about depriving ourselves of this vital time for subconscious renewal and recharging.
Precisely. And Murphy suggests that we can actually use sleep to our advantage by giving our subconscious minds specific instructions before we drift off.
He shares an incredible story about a man who won $15,000 from his company for solving a complex engineering problem while he was taking a nap. He had been struggling with this problem for days, but it wasn't until he relaxed and allowed his subconscious mind to take over that the solution came to him in a dream.
It's a brilliant example of how, by consciously setting an intention before sleep,
Yeah.
we can tap into the problem-solving power of the subconscious mind. He also highlights the work of Professor Agassiz, a renowned naturalist who used his dreams to solve a scientific puzzle. Agassiz had been trying to decipher the impression of a fossil fish, but it wasn't until he slept on it, literally, that the missing pieces of the puzzle were revealed to him in a dream.
And this is a technique that Robert Louis Stevenson, the famous author, used extensively. He would give his subconscious mind specific instructions to come up with story ideas while he slept.
Yeah.
And apparently it worked wonders for his writing.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
It suggests that we can actually train our subconscious mind to work on our behalf even while we're asleep.
And this brings us to a topic that many listeners are probably curious about: relationships.
Yes, relationships.
Specifically, how to attract the ideal partner.
This is where Murphy emphasizes the importance of aligning our subconscious beliefs with our conscious desires. He argues that if we're constantly telling ourselves we're not worthy of love, or if we're carrying around baggage from past relationships, we're essentially sending out a signal to the universe to attract more of the same.
So it's not just about putting ourselves out there and hoping for the best.
Right.
It's about doing the inner work to create a vibrational match for the type of relationship we want to experience.
Exactly. And Murphy suggests a technique of visualizing the qualities we desire in a partner.
So it's about creating a clear mental picture of the type of person we want to attract,
Yeah.
focusing on their positive traits and characteristics.
And he shares a wonderful story about a woman who used this method to break free from a pattern of attracting emotionally unavailable men. She had been through several painful relationships, but by consistently visualizing the qualities of a loving and supportive partner, she was able to shift her subconscious beliefs and attract a completely different type of man into her life.
It's like she finally upgraded her relationship software,
Uh-huh.
and as a result, she started attracting a higher quality match.
Absolutely. And I think this highlights an important point. We're not victims of our subconscious programming. We have the power to change our beliefs, and by doing so, we can change our experiences.
Now, Murphy doesn't shy away from the topic of divorce. In fact, he dedicates a chapter to it.
He does. He acknowledges that divorce is a deeply personal decision and that there's no one-size-fits-all answer. However, he emphasizes the importance of forgiveness both for ourselves and for our partners as a crucial step in healing and moving forward, whether we choose to stay in the relationship or to separate.
He talks about how holding on to resentment and anger can create a toxic environment that ultimately harms both partners. He encourages couples to focus on each other's positive qualities, to communicate openly and honestly, and to seek professional guidance when needed.
And he makes a really interesting point about avoiding the temptation to air our dirty laundry with friends and family.
It's like saying, don't involve other people in your relationship drama because it can create unnecessary negativity and complicate matters further.
Exactly. And he stresses that ultimately happiness in a relationship comes from within ourselves. It's about cultivating a sense of inner peace and contentment that we then bring into the relationship.
Right. It's about recognizing that we are responsible for our own happiness and that we can't expect our partners to fill a void within ourselves.
And this leads into another important point that Murphy makes: the power of choosing happiness.
He argues that happiness is a choice, a conscious decision we make each and every day.
He even shares a story about a farmer in Ireland who told him that he had made it a habit to be happy. Every morning when he woke up and every night before he went to sleep, he would bless his family, his crops, his cattle, and give thanks for his blessings.
It's a beautiful example of how we can cultivate a positive mindset by focusing on gratitude and appreciation,
Yeah.
even in the midst of challenges.
And Murphy emphasizes that this isn't about denying negative emotions or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to focus on the good, to look for the silver lining, and to find joy in the simple things.
He reminds us that we have the power to choose our thoughts. And by choosing thoughts that uplift and empower us, we can create a more positive and fulfilling reality.
Now, of course, choosing happiness is easier said than done.
Right.
We all face challenges and setbacks in life.
And that's where Murphy's teachings about forgiveness and letting go of resentment become especially relevant.
Yes.
He argues that holding on to anger and bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
It's a powerful analogy that highlights the self-destructive nature of unforgiveness.
It is.
He encourages us to recognize that forgiveness is ultimately a gift we give to ourselves. It's about releasing the burden of pain and resentment so we can experience true inner peace.
And he reminds us that forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful actions.
No.
It simply means choosing to let go of the negative emotions associated with those actions.
It's about recognizing that we can't control what other people do, but we can control how we respond to it.
Exactly. And this brings up another important point, that Murphy makes the importance of understanding how to handle difficult people.
Oh, yeah.
We all encounter them in our lives, whether it's a demanding boss, a critical coworker, or a negative family member.
And Murphy argues that these difficult people are often acting out of their own pain and insecurity.
It's like saying hurt people hurt people.
Precisely. And he suggests that by understanding this, we can choose to respond with compassion rather than reacting with anger or resentment.
He encourages us to practice empathy, to try to see things from the other person's perspective, and to recognize that their behavior is often a reflection of their own inner struggles.
He even shares a story about a girl who hated a coworker because she was prettier, happier, and wealthier than her. But when she saw her coworker's crippled daughter expressing love and joy, her heart softened and she was able to let go of her resentment.
It's a beautiful example of how understanding and compassion can dissolve even the most deeply rooted negativity.
And Murphy emphasizes that we don't have to become doormats or tolerate abusive behavior. It's about setting healthy boundaries while choosing to respond with love and understanding rather than reacting with anger or hostility.
He even suggests a powerful technique for dealing with difficult people, mentally blessing them and wishing them well.
It might sound counterintuitive,
It does.
but the idea is that by sending out positive energy and intentions, we're not only helping the other person,
Yeah.
but also creating a more harmonious environment for ourselves.
It's like saying, kill them with kindness.
Exactly. And this brings us to another crucial aspect of using the subconscious mind for positive change, mastering fear.
Fear is something that Murphy addresses extensively throughout the book.
Yes.
He sees it as a major obstacle to achieving our goals and living a fulfilling life.
He reminds us that fear at its core is a thought. And like any thought, it can be replaced with more empowering beliefs.
He talks about how fear often stems from false beliefs and limiting assumptions that we've internalized over time.
And he encourages us to examine our fears, to question their validity, and to replace them with thoughts of courage and confidence.
So instead of letting fear paralyze us,
Yes,
we can choose to face it head on and replace it with more empowering thoughts.
that's the idea. He even suggests a technique of mentally facing our fears, almost like a dress rehearsal for real-life situations.
So if you're afraid of public speaking, you might visualize yourself giving a successful presentation, feeling confident engaging the audience.
Exactly. He gives the example of a young lady who is terrified of public speaking, but by repeatedly visualizing herself giving a successful presentation, she was able to overcome her fear and deliver a confident and engaging speech.
It's a powerful example of how we can use the power of visualization to reprogram our subconscious minds and create new, more empowering responses to fear-inducing situations.
And he reminds us that every time we face a fear and move through it, we grow stronger and more confident.
It's like saying the only way out is through.
Now, Murphy distinguishes between normal fear, which is a natural survival mechanism,
Right.
and abnormal fear, which is often irrational and debilitating.
He gives the example of a woman who was invited on a trip around the world but became so consumed by fear of flying that she started collecting newspaper clippings about airplane crashes.
It's a classic example of how dwelling on our fears can actually attract the very thing we're afraid of.
He also talks about how fear can manifest in more subtle ways, like fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of success.
And he encourages us to identify these fears, to bring them out into light of awareness, and to challenge their validity.
He reminds us that we have the power to choose our thoughts.
Yes.
And by choosing thoughts of courage, faith, and trust, we can overcome even our deepest fears.
And this brings us to a really interesting question that Murphy explores. Does the mind age?
This is where he challenges the conventional belief that our mental capacities inevitably decline with age. He argues that while our bodies may age, our minds have the potential to remain sharp, vibrant, and creative throughout our lives.
He shares inspiring examples of individuals who achieved great things in their later years, like Cato learning Greek at 80 and Ernestine Schumann-Heink reaching the peak of her musical career as a grandmother.
It's like saying it's never too late to learn to grow and to make a meaningful contribution to the world.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that the key to maintaining a youthful mind is to stay curious, to keep learning, and to embrace new experiences.
He also encourages us to challenge limiting beliefs about aging.
For example, the belief that we're supposed to slow down and retire at a certain age.
Murphy would argue that retirement can actually be an opportunity to pursue new passions, to explore different interests, and to contribute our wisdom and experience to the world in new and meaningful ways.
He even compares retirement to being promoted from kindergarten to first grade, suggesting that it can be a time of greater freedom, creativity, and fulfillment.
Now, this is where Murphy's teachings become particularly relevant for older adults who may be facing societal pressures to step aside and make room for younger generations.
He argues that age is an asset, not a liability.
He points out that older adults have a wealth of experience, wisdom, and knowledge that can be invaluable to businesses, organizations, and society as a whole.
He even suggests that it's economically foolish to force experienced workers into retirement, as it deprives society of their talents and skills.
And he encourages older adults to challenge ageism and to assert their right to continue contributing their gifts to the world.
He even criticizes the entertainment industry for catering to the 12-year-old mind, arguing that this keeps people in a state of emotional and spiritual immaturity.
He emphasizes the importance of embracing all stages of life and recognizing that each stage has its own unique beauty, wisdom, and potential.
He reminds us that life is a journey, not a destination, and that there's always something new to learn, to experience, and to create, regardless of our age.
Now, Murphy offers some practical tips for maintaining a youthful mind, and it's not about expensive creams or fad diets.
He emphasizes the importance of mental and spiritual nourishment, of keeping our minds active and engaged through learning, reading, creative pursuits, and meaningful connections with others.
He reminds us that we are not just physical beings, we are also spiritual beings, and our spiritual growth is just as important as our physical well-being.
He even shares a powerful visualization exercise for tapping into the rejuvenating power of the subconscious mind.
He suggests that we can mentally and emotionally recapture the joyous state of youth by feeling the miraculous healing and self-renewing power of our subconscious mind moving through our bodies.
It's about recognizing that we are not victims of our physical limitations, but rather powerful creators of our own reality.
And this brings us to a really fascinating concept, that Murphy explores the idea that our subconscious mind has a memory of everything that has ever transpired.
He talks about how archaeologists and paleontologists use their subconscious minds to reconstruct ancient scenes by studying ruins, fossils, and artifacts.
It's like saying that the past isn't really dead and gone. It's still alive within us, encoded in the depths of our subconscious minds.
And Murphy suggests that we can tap into this vast storehouse of knowledge and experience by learning to trust our intuition and by allowing our subconscious minds to guide us.
He encourages us to pay attention to our dreams, to our hunches, and to those subtle inner nudges that often lead us in the right direction.
And this leads us to a topic that's often shrouded in mystery and misunderstanding: the power of dreams.
Murphy dedicates a significant portion of the book to exploring the meaning and purpose of dreams. He argues that dreams are not just random firings of neurons, but rather a language through which our subconscious mind communicates with us.
He suggests that dreams can offer us guidance, insights, and warnings that can help us navigate the challenges of life.
He even shares a personal story about how a dream saved him from potential disaster. He had been offered a lucrative assignment in the Orient, but had a vivid dream that warned him not to go.
And 3 years later, the attack on Pearl Harbor happened, confirming the validity of his dream's message.
It's a chilling example of how our subconscious minds can access information that our conscious minds are not aware of.
And Murphy encourages us to pay attention to our dreams, to keep a dream journal, and to look for recurring themes, symbols, and messages that may be trying to guide us.
He reminds us that our subconscious minds are constantly working on our behalf even while we sleep, and that dreams can be a powerful tool for accessing inner wisdom and guidance.
Now, this brings us to a topic that's both fascinating and potentially challenging: the idea that our future is in many ways already present in our subconscious minds.
Murphy suggests that our thoughts, beliefs, and expectations create a blueprint for our future experiences. He even talks about how psychics and clairvoyants can sometimes glimpse into a person's future by tapping into their subconscious mind.
Now, this doesn't mean that our future is set in stone or that we have no free will.
Exactly. Mercy emphasizes that we have the power to change our thoughts and beliefs.
Yes.
And by doing so, we can change our future.
He encourages us to use techniques like visualization and affirmations to create a mental and emotional blueprint for the type of future we want to experience.
He reminds us that we are not passive victims of fate, but rather powerful co-creators of our own reality.
And he encourages us to take responsibility for our thoughts, beliefs, and actions, knowing that they are shaping our future in every moment.
Now, this brings us to a topic that many listeners are probably eager to explore: how to use the subconscious mind to attract wealth and abundance.
This is where Murphy's teachings become especially relevant in our material world. He argues that wealth is at its core a subconscious conviction.
So it's not just about working hard or being in the right place at the right time. It's about cultivating a mindset of prosperity and abundance.
Exactly. He emphasizes the importance of aligning our thoughts and beliefs with our desire for wealth.
So if we're always saying, I'm not good with money, or rich people are all greedy, are we actually blocking abundance from coming into our lives?
Yeah, you're essentially sending a message to your subconscious that you don't believe you deserve wealth or that it's somehow bad.
So it's like we're pushing it away instead of attracting it.
Exactly. He encourages us to challenge those limiting beliefs about money and replace them with positive affirmations like, I am a money magnet, or wealth flows into my life easily and effortlessly.
And what about visualization? Does that play a role in attracting wealth?
Oh, absolutely. Visualization is huge for Murphy. He talks about visualizing yourself receiving a large sum of money, feeling the joy and gratitude as if it's already happened.
So we're not just seeing it in our minds, we're actually feeling the emotions associated with it.
That's the key. The emotions are what really amplifies the power of the visualization. He even suggests acting as if you're already wealthy, walking, talking, and making decisions as if you have an abundance of money.
So fake it till you make it applies to our subconscious minds as well.
In a way, yes, but he also cautions against greed and materialism, reminding us that true wealth comes from aligning ourselves with love service and contributing to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, it's not just about accumulating money for its own sake. It's about using our wealth to make a positive impact in the world.
Exactly. He tells a story about a man who gained wealth through illegal means but lived in constant fear and guilt. It's a good reminder that true wealth involves integrity and honesty.
Aligning our actions with our values.
Precisely. Now, speaking of aligning things, let's dive into the power of visualization, which Murphy believes is crucial for using our subconscious mind effectively.
Yeah, he's a big advocate for creating those clear mental pictures of our desired outcomes, right? Whether it's landing a new job, finding love, or even healing from an illness.
Absolutely. It's about imagining ourselves already experiencing those outcomes with all the associated emotions like joy, gratitude, and excitement.
So we're not just seeing it, we're feeling it too.
Exactly. He even suggests using visualization to mentally rehearse successful outcomes for overcoming challenges and obstacles.
Like practicing that big presentation in our minds beforehand and visualizing a smooth and confident delivery.
Exactly. And he gives inspiring examples of how visualization has helped people achieve incredible things, from recovering from illnesses to winning Olympic gold medals.
It's a powerful reminder that our minds are incredibly powerful and we can use them to create the reality we desire.
Which brings us to something many listeners are probably eager to hear about: how to find our true purpose in life.
This is a big one. And Murphy seems to believe that everyone has a unique calling, a special gift or talent they're meant to share with the world.
He suggests that our true purpose often aligns with our passions and interests and brings us a sense of deep joy and fulfillment.
So it's not necessarily about finding a job, but about discovering what truly lights us up.
Yeah, what makes us feel alive?
And how do we go about finding that?
Well, he encourages exploring different possibilities, trying new things, and paying attention to our intuition for clues about what we're meant to do.
It sounds like a journey of self-discovery where we kind of experiment and learn along the way.
It is, and he reminds us that, our purpose may evolve over time. It's perfectly okay to change paths or even pursue multiple passions.
So it's not about getting it right from the start, but about being open to growth and evolution.
Exactly. He emphasizes taking action, following those sparks of inspiration, and trusting that the universe will support us on our journey.
It's about having faith in ourselves and in, something bigger than ourselves guiding us along the way. Now we can't talk about self-discovery without acknowledging the role of forgiveness, because Murphy sees unforgiveness as a major obstacle to living a truly fulfilling life.
It's like carrying around a heavyweight,
Yeah.
dragging us down, preventing us from moving forward.
And he really drives this point home with that analogy about drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Right. It's a stark reminder that forgiveness is ultimately for our own well-being.
So it's not about condoning the harmful actions, but about choosing to let go of the resentment.
Exactly. It's about freeing ourselves from the pain of the past. And, he offers some really helpful tips for forgiveness.
Okay, like what?
Well, he talks about mentally sending love and blessings to the person we're struggling to forgive.
That's an interesting one.
It might seem counterintuitive, but the idea is to shift our focus from anger and resentment to compassion and understanding.
So we're not trying to excuse their actions, but we're trying to shift our own internal state.
Exactly. He also suggests writing a letter to that person, expressing all of our feelings, but then not sending it.
Oh, so it's more about getting those feelings out of our system.
Exactly. It's a way to process the emotions without necessarily confronting the person.
And of course, he emphasizes the importance of forgiving ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. We can be our own harshest critics.
Yeah, we tend to hold on to those past mistakes and, beat ourselves up for them.
He reminds us to be kind to ourselves and to recognize that we're all works in progress. We're all learning and growing, and it's okay to make mistakes.
It's about extending that same compassion and understanding that we offer to others, to ourselves as well.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into the power of your subconscious mind, I think it's important to remember that this is just the beginning.
It is.
Murphy's book is packed with so many insights and techniques, and it's really up to each of us to take what resonates with us and apply it to our own lives.
It's about experimenting and finding what works best for us.
Exactly. And remember, the most important takeaway is that you are not a victim of your subconscious mind. You are its master. By understanding how it works and by choosing your thoughts and beliefs wisely, you can create a life of health, happiness, abundance, and fulfillment.
It's a powerful message of hope and empowerment, and it reminds us that we have the ability to shape our own destinies.
So go out there and create the life you've always dreamed of.
And remember, the power is within you.